a real selection of films there. But Chris Deasy joins me now to discuss. So we watched those, what the residents in Rochester said there. There was a woman there that said she watched a horror film so scared she didn't sleep for a week. Has that ever happened to you?
Well, it's funny you say that because, Kristen, there have been times when I've watched a film and, you know, it's sort of, even at the time, you're not aware of it, but you just feel as you're leaving the cinema, just that sense, that touch almost of unease. You know, you're walking home afterwards. And it did happen to me actually in the car. And I remember once almost feeling, you know, I don't want to look behind, don't look in the wing mirror in case there's a presence there. And that really, and it's very interesting that that happens because films like Rosemary's Baby sometimes are powerful because you don't see. It's all down to the imagination. And that imprint far more than a film when it's like, oh, is that all it is? Or sometimes you look at it and you think, oh, that looks a bit fake, or a little bit overdone, a little bit overcooked, a little bit contrived. So sometimes some of the best movies are the ones which have that chilling effect precisely because they do more psychological sort of damage, you know, than simply because we shout and we scream and then it's all over. Because that's great sometimes, but it's forgettable. It's the films that stay with you after decades, like the lady was saying in that clip.
Of course, I mean, in the genre of horror, there are subgenres. Like you're saying, we have the psychological and then we have the kind of jump scare one. Do you think that horror films have kind of become more scary as time goes on? I mean, we have different graphics now, we have different equipment, whereas back in the day, I mean, Alfred Hitchcock, it was black and white and chocolate sauce and all that. What do you think?
Well, I saw for the first time on the big screen John Carpenter's The Fog this week. I was in Dover, and well, first of all, it reminded me of Clint Eastwood's play Misty for me with the radio station, The Lighthouse, but then the mist comes in, and you just have that sense of this town in peril by something, you know, from 100 years earlier. And so it's all these people celebrating the 100th anniversary of this small town, this small community on the coast. And then the figures from that past come, and they come through the mist, and all sorts of shenanigans happen. And people, and I was watching, and I have to say, I was almost like swerving along with the film. And at the time I was thinking, oh, the special effects are a bit ropey. But then you're thinking, no, because it simply is nature doing its work. You know, you don't need great effects, you just see the mist appearing. That's all you have to experience in order to just have that sense that there is something here. We don't know what it is. It's the numinous. You know, we're attracted to it, but we don't really know what it is, and it scares us at the same time. Really powerful impact.
Well, that's it. Almost ones that kind of are more realistic tend to be a bit more scary because, like you said, when you're leaving the cinema, you're kind of thinking, this could maybe happen here, or there could be somebody sitting in the back of my car or something. But yeah, I mean, with the technology now, I mean, you can find that when things jump towards you, it's kind of gliding as opposed to maybe looking more natural. Why is the genre so popular, do you think?
I think, you know, I've thought about this because I've seen young people on a Friday night sometimes looking at each other and thinking, oh, is he going to cry? Is he going to scream? Is he going to be scared? In other words, there's something about it that it's almost like the characters on the screen are suffering, almost like so we don't have to. So that they can, something gruesome will happen to them, but we have a sense of relief almost, that it's like, okay, something bad is happening, but it cleanses us in some way. It's almost like it's not happening to us. We can other direct it. I think that's the thing about horror, is that it almost gets inside us and doesn't always let go.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to speak a bit more about horror as the month continues, but in other film news, this week, the screen legend Diane Keaton passed away. Can we talk a bit about her screen career? Here she is here.
Well, Oscar winner for Annie Hall, 1977. I mean, phenomenal. I mean, also her personal life, because she always had, I'll tell you, when she passed away on Saturday, Belinda Carlisle, who was directed by Diane Keaton for 2 of her music videos in the 80s, I Get Weak and Heaven is a Place on Earth, referred to her as wonderful and eccentric. And that is what's come through, that she would always be, you know, her performances were always referred to as a little bit, you know, ditzy or cookie, but she also developed a trend. You know, she'd often have this wonderful magnetic presence. She'd be on talk shows and she'd go all over the place, and she'd sometimes start, you know, talking nonsense, but there was just that sense that she really enjoyed being there. She connected well with people, and she was well known in that sense for wanting to sort of push the boat a bit. She would, you know, sometimes in her personal life, you know, she was often attached to people like Pacino, and Woody Allen, but also at the same time she was also clear that she didn't really have relationships in any conventional way, but she'd love relationships on the screen. So we'd associate her on screen with romantic relationships, but her personal life was often quite different. So there was a lot going on there, but phenomenal films, including, well, Father of the Bride, we also think, well, Marvin's Room, but also in more recent years, The Book Club, but in particular, Something's Gotta Give with Jack Nicholson, which came out here in 2004. Beautiful romantic comedy. Keanu Reeves is in it, and it's about, she was in her late 50s at the time. It's about somebody in her late 50s involved with somebody who's both older than her and younger than her. It just kind of did everything that a screen romance should do about, and she's in the middle, and often a romantic part for somebody who was approaching 60. And she got an Oscar nomination for this, won a Screen Actors Guild and Golden Globe. So you just kind of feel that she was really there in The Godfather as well in the early 70s, playing the wife of I'm about to say Al Martino, because he's in The Godfather as well, but Al Pacino's character, absolute legend.
Yeah, I know, and I've seen a lot on social media about her too, talking about her outfits, her black and white outfits, but a very inspirational character, and she'll remain in the thoughts of many, I'm sure.
Very much.
Now, that's all we have for tonight on Kent Tonight. But there's more news made just for you throughout the evening at 8 p.m, which will be presented by Alfie Rowe. See you then. Bye-bye.